It's called a promo,
Shut
kid.
your
And
mouth,
if you want to
John.
be the big dog, you're going to have to learn how to do it. So go ahead.
You ready? No! I said, are you ready?
That was good. I'm glad you finally decided to pull that giant stick out of your butt and have some fun for once in your life.
You're uneducated marks! You sit there on your phones tweeting out your opinions like they're worth a damn. Let me explain something to you people. You don't know shit!
And I'd like to think that maybe this company will be better after Vince McMahon's death.
All right, everyone. First singles bout. That's what we should start calling these singles bouts. If not, canned idea. But this is my first solo interview with Robert, formerly known as Big Boss Rob.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Ding dong.
So, how long have you been out of the game for, man? I can't remember.
I've been out of the game for, I think, officially, I want to say about officially 2 years now. 2 years I've been out of the game, yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a bit of time, man.
It is, yeah, and I miss it to this day, honestly.
You do, man. That's good to hear because, I mean, we love wrestling here. Duh, that's what we're doing. But you had a lot of interesting things. We talked quite a bit about, wrestling in general. And so I thought this would be a great interview. So I wanted to start from the beginning, from the start. So what made you get into wrestling?
Yeah, no, it was really crazy because, growing up, I wasn't that much into wrestling. I wasn't that much into WWE. I played the video games.
Let's go.
On my PS3, and, I had my favorites there. But I didn't know much about it. I didn't know much about, like the skills or the technique or the story or anything like that. And all of a sudden, I get a text from my friend Nick, or I should say Calix Fuse. I don't want to add, Calix Fuse. I don't want to add him like that, but he was telling me, hey, he was going to be in a wrestling match with two of my other friends, Matt Shaw and Red X, who was a really good wrestler who also retired a while ago. But I went to go see their show. It was backyard wrestling. Very low budget type of stuff. They were looking for all the help they could get. So I would show up, a little early to, help them, get some stuff into place, make sure the ring is all put together and stuff like that. And eventually they asked, well, hey, do you want to be a part of it? So I turned into a referee for them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I was just kind of this no face referee. I got to know some of the guys. I went with my friends to, some training. They taught me how to take some bumps. They taught me how to, do some moves here and there. And eventually I turned into like the general manager of that. Yeah. That's where officially Big Boss Rob started. Like he was just a general manager, not meant to fight or anything like that. Some drama happened with that. Some drama happened with that corporation, and then this new corporation started based off of that. And I brought Big Boss Rob over there, still a manager, but this time I was able to actually get in the ring and show some stuff. And ever since, like the first time I ever stepped into the ring, man, it was just awesome. It's such a great experience, and I absolutely loved it.
See, I don't get to say this often because normally, everyone else is doing the talking, but I liken it to like poetry and doing like poetry slams and stuff like that. You write a lot of people write poetry and they just write poetry, but once you actually like speak it, perform it, it's like a whole other thing, man. It kind of takes you, at least it did for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like there's a lot of slam poetry that comes into the mic work when it comes to, wrestling and all that stuff, especially when it comes to the promos. Cause part of your job is to, get the audience hype and let them know like, hey, this is personal, like how much this means to you as a wrestler.
Yeah. So Big Boss Rob, man, and Ref Rob didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Calix. I'm sorry,
Calix Views,
dude.
yeah.
Yeah, we've done an interview with that guy. I love that guy. But I know. So I got to see some of your stuff, and you guys had a little bit of a rivalry, right? You know, in kayfabe, yeah.
Yeah. No, we had a definitely had a rivalry. It's easy to work off of Calix Views. He, in my opinion, is the best at mic work, like even better than some of the professionals, in my opinion.
Wow.
Yeah, no, he was definitely a character that you just everybody wanted to root against. He was so hateable, but he's one of my best friends, but he's so hateable, and
Yeah.
it's that awkward relationship, right? Where outside, we're the best of friends, but once we get in that ring, like everything's a target with Calix Views. He would point out my girlfriend at that time. He would point her out
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And it was just such a easy rivalry to build off of. So my entire wrestling career was focused around Calix Views, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, it seemed like that. A lot of the clips I saw, which I did want to show one clip.
Okay.
So we don't normally show clips on this show. Let me pull this up. So I was gonna pull up this clip of you doing a Hurricane Rana in pants.
Yeah.
How the hell do you manage to do a Hurricane Rana in pants?
It took so much trial and error to get that down in pants, because at first when I did it, I was doing it in shorts, right?
Right.
And I did it so many times to the point where I was like, all right, I'm comfortable. But then fight day actually happened, and I put on those pants, and I realized this feels so much different than shorts. I didn't realize like how much of a difference it was going to be. But
Yo, it's crazy,
yeah,
man.
before the fight, me and Calix, we practiced that. And we were able to get it down. So especially right here in this moment, it was kind of like it's a now or never feeling. And if I rip my pants, I rip my pants.
Hold on.
Looks like we've had enough talk. It's time for the main event.
Wow. So that was like I said, in pants and in the sweater vest, dude. Like, how do you manage that? How does that
It
feel?
I'll tell you what, it feels amazing. When I first started wrestling, I didn't really have a move set. I was just doing typical drop kicks, typical whatever. My big move when I first started wrestling was going to be the attitude adjustment, the John Cena fireman shoulder carry. Exactly, you can't see me, right? But then I'll give this guy a shout out. Devin Brooks. He unfortunately is out of the game. He's in the Air Force as of right now. But
Okay.
shout out
Thank
to
you for your
him.
service.
Oh yeah. He started to work with me a little bit, and he looked at me and he said, hey, your size and your weight, you could totally do a Hurricanrana. And I'll be honest, I looked at him, and this is how much of a newbie I was. I was like, what is a Hurricanrana?
Ooh,
So
damn.
I had no idea. I had no idea what that was, and he showed it to me, and we worked it. And the first time I nailed it, I was like, man, this feels awesome. This feels great. And the cool part of it is only me, Devin Brooks, and Calix knew that I was practicing that move. We didn't tell anybody.
Oh.
So we had an announcer, and I'm sure you heard it about like in that fight. And then he just when the fight happened, I landed that Hurricanrana. The announcer just goes, I didn't know he could do that. And it just felt so amazing landing that move. So officially that became a staple of Big Boss Rob. And then for a while before I retired, I started studying lucha wrestling versus American wrestling.
Yeah, I saw in a couple of clips you were out here. The promo package you sent, actually, which it's a little long and everything, so I didn't want to like put it in here. But
Right.
there's a lot of clips of like you doing like I think there was one of you doing like a neck breaker or like a hanging neck breaker almost.
Yeah.
Like, dude, You look like you were on fire, man.
Yeah, man, it was definitely fun. When I really got into this, a big inspiration for me was I'll call him by his lucha name, but King Puma, also known as Ricochet,
Yeah.
was definitely a huge inspiration for me. I would watch his stuff for hours. I would play, like the speed of the video at like 0.2, just so I could watch um, all of the tiny little details that he would do, like to
Yeah.
get that type of height, or to have the guts to do double cannonball front flip and just trust that he's
Yeah.
going to land not on his neck. But
Oh,
he was a huge inspiration for me.
that's crazy too. Ricochet out there doing it big in AEW now.
He is.
Um, so speaking of Calix, and it seems like you guys had a pretty positive relationship, right?
Yeah, like I said, he was somebody that you could work with on any type of level, professional, not professional, when you have to do the promos and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But coming into this as a guy who only played the video games, I realized you have to trust the guy in the ring. You have to trust that guy and make sure that nobody gets hurt and nobody does, anything totally crazy or out of line. So working with
Oh yeah.
Calix was just was such a privilege because
And
he could get the crowd hyped up. He knew exactly how to get on the crowd's bad side
oh
and
yeah.
make sure that they not only were they booing him, but they were cheering for you. So
Yeah.
he got the crowd against him. He got the moves down, and he's still doing amazing work. By the way, he's
Yes.
putting blood, sweat, and tears in everything he does. He absolutely great relationship outside the ring and inside the ring as well.
Yeah. And it's really good that you have that positive and you had some of those positive experiences because I imagine, with everything in life, there's positive experiences. There's also negative experiences. And
Yeah.
that's where I kind of wanted to go next. What are some of the negative experiences you had in the business?
Yeah, no. So, like I said, both businesses were definitely backyard type of wrestling stuff. Definitely not a professional ring whatsoever. Not much of a cushion in that ring.
Oh,
Especially the first company that I wrestled for, it was just basically straight wood that people were jumping into and stuff like that. And these guys weren't anything professional, and that's not a diss to these guys. I still think that what they did was amazing, given with what they have and stuff like that. But obviously, there comes a fear factor of you getting hurt. One of
yeah.
the biggest injuries that I had working with this company was it was during practice, and I was learning how to jump off the ropes and frog splashes and stuff like that. And unfortunately, there was this gap in between the wood planks that my whole wrist snuck through, and
Oh,
I felt my hand just kind of pop in and out of place. So there was definitely a lot of stuff like that. And of course, and I'll say this to anybody who is thinking about getting into wrestling and stuff like that. It's a great experience. It's an amazing, great experience. But in a weird way, it's kind of like D&D. It's like you got your character, you got the guy who's in charge of it, like the DM and stuff like
yeah.
that. And you may come in and you may want to, work some stuff over here, work some stuff over there. But you're going to run into, that creative conflict sometimes. And
Oh, yeah.
that's definitely something that a lot of wrestlers, have trouble with. They want to come in and they want to set a storyline. And
Oh, yeah.
sometimes, DMs can do that. Sometimes DMs can't, and that's fine. The most important thing I think in my few years of pro wrestling is just the only thing that matters is you in that ring
Oh,
and
yeah.
making sure that your moves are loud, they're spectacular, and you're getting the audience hyped up, whether you're the opening act or the opening fight or the closing fight, wherever you are, just focus on that, and then eventually the crowd will push you. And if you have a good manager, and sometimes there's companies with not good managers, but if you have a good manager, they'll notice that.
Yeah, for sure. I know there's a lot going on right now. When we're recording this, I don't know when this is going up, but WWE released a lot of talent, and there's a lot of discussion on whether they utilize them correctly or not. Sometimes Karrion Kross is a good example of someone who right now he's doing all these amazing promos, and from what I understand, he's paying for a lot of like the shooting of them and all that himself. He's getting over doing it, but WWE's not giving him all the leeway that he needs, all the support, I guess I would say.
Yeah, and that just kind of goes with a lot of stuff. I like to play devil's advocate when it comes to storyline and stuff like that. Sometimes that's just how it is. People fall through the cracks. That doesn't necessarily make it fair for people who just haven't had a chance to show off. Sometimes questionable decisions are definitely going to be made. Storyline, questionable creative decisions here and there. I mean, but that's everything.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, it's just a thing that happens. Sometimes you get the spotlight, and sometimes you just don't.
For sure. Well, we're getting close to the end here. You probably knew this one was coming, right? So you're gone. You're done, or are you? Do you ever see yourself going back to wrestling?
The reason why I left wrestling was because at the time I was working at a water plant. It was a good paying job, but it was a bad job mentally. You would work midnight to noon, 12-hour shifts. I had some bosses who were just not very friendly to their workers, and there was a high turnover rate, and I would constantly ask hey, I wonder why. But I decided, I wanted to go back to school to try to become a rad tech or a nurse. That's what I decided to do, and because of that, I had to make some sacrifices.
Oh yeah,
and I had to leave. So. It's always been, in the back of my head every time I hear, Calix Fuse is having another wrestling match. Anytime I open up TikTok or go on YouTube and I see WWE videos and stuff like that, it's always something in the back of my mind where I'm just like, I wish I was still doing that, man. I wish I was still in there. So, if all bodes well and I become a rad tech, you might see Big Boss Rob make a comeback. Yeah.
Give me a hell yeah.
You call yourself Rad Boss Rob instead of...
Exactly. Rad Boss Rob. I like it.
Oh, man. Anyways, I love the stuff that I've seen. The promo, there was one promo where you just you were sitting there drinking. And
yeah.
And
the promos were fun. Uh-huh.
So the small details are just great stuff like that. And you look solid in the ring. Would love to see you go back. I don't know. I don't even know if I consider myself in the business. I'm just a podcast host.
Acknowledge me.
But that's pretty much it for the questions. Of course, I got to give you a little opportunity to shout out anything you're working on, any projects you got going on. You got podcasts, anything like that. Now's your time.
Yeah, so from one podcaster to another podcaster, I also have a podcast, Third and Long podcast. Yeah. Me and my friends, mostly me, but we definitely cover some sports here and there. It's mostly football, but over the years, it's been evolved into. I also do pro wrestling. Live recording of myself watching pro wrestling and stuff like that. Cool. Some boxing, some MMA stuff, basketball. We did the Olympics as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So definitely check me out on there if you guys would like to watch some sports with me, especially football. Go Texans! And yeah, man, thank you so much for having me on here. This was really great. It let me relive my experience at being a wrestler and reminded me why I fell in love with it in the first place.
All those times I said I was going to hurt you, this time I mean it, Robert, because this time nobody can save you. The referee cannot save you. And I promise you, when the bell rings and my hand is raised, you will have no other choice but to crawl to the back and retire.
I remember what it was like losing. It's hard coming back from a loss like that.
You see, this is a perfect opportunity for me to make an example out of you, to show everybody who wants to disrespect THW exactly what will happen to you. You know something? I think we've waited long enough.